This episode of Witch Police Radio is my interview with the Rainy Day Apparel. He's a singer-songwriter from Carman, Manitoba, who has been quietly making noise in the Winnipeg music scene. We talk about the difficulties of being an outsider to the scene and how he's been accepted, how he's finding his experience playing here in the city, as well as what's available to him at home in Carman and in the surrounding area. And like a few episodes I've done recently, I conducted this interview over Skype, because he's in Carman and I'm in Winnipeg, and we were never quite able to make things work out with us meeting in person. This seemed like the easiest way to get him on the podcast. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Park Theatre, Winnipeg's premier concert and event venue. If you want to find out all the great shows they have coming up, go to myparktheatre.com.
You're listening to Garbage Hill, Winnipeg's first podcast network.
Okay, welcome to Witch Police Radio. I am trying this Skype thing again. I've done 2 episodes so far, remotely via Skype, and it's working out okay. So I'm kind of saving the Skype interviews for when I can't meet the person in person, whether it's someone on tour, someone from a different city, or things like that. So on the line today, I have an artist who's living in Carman, which is, far enough away that it's close enough, but also far enough. So I figured the Skype thing is probably the easiest way we can connect after having talked about it online for a while now. So, do you want to just introduce yourself? I think maybe that's a good way to get started, and we can sort of go from there.
For sure. I'm Nathan Strange. My music project is called The Rainy Day Apparel. Kind of a folky, indie sort of vibe to it, but just been recording music pretty steady throughout my high school years and whatnot, and kind of started putting myself out there the last couple of years, and just seeing what's out there in Winnipeg and Pembina Valley and kind of beyond.
Okay. Well, maybe a good starting point is what's out there in Carman. Like, is there a music scene? First of all, just for reference, like, how big is Carman? I know I've been through it. I don't think I've actually spent any time there ever, so.
Yeah, if you've been through it, you've hit the 30 speed zone that never changes 24 hours a day. It's a little rough. But no, Carman has, we have a place called the Golden Prairie Arts Council outside of the old train station, and they do a really good job of bringing some really great artists in. I mean, we're lucky enough to have, I don't know if you've heard of Fozia, but she's world-class talent.
Yeah, she sold out 2 shows here in the city. Yeah. She's big, yeah.
Yeah. And aside from that, they've brought in some really great bands. I mean, I remember when I first moved here, the Perpetrators played out here. They brought them out, and every year Casati was out here a couple days ago, actually.
Oh, right on. Yeah, they're good, yeah.
Job of pulling bands out here, and so yeah, I mean, while it's it's not like Winnipeg where there's things every night. I think for a small town, they're pretty fortunate. I think the tough part is getting people to come out sometimes. So
sure.
I think they work pretty hard to make it happen, though.
So are you not originally from Carman?
No, I was actually born and raised in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
I'm a teacher, by trade, so I moved to Brandon when I was about 17, and then got my first teaching job out here, and I've kind of been, living in Carman for about the last 11 or 12 years. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Is there a local music community? Like, are there other artists locally that you've kind of seen coming up or played shows with, things like that?
To a degree. I mean, Ashley Bart has a group called Barta. She's a really talented musician and someone that I saw pretty early on living here that just really respected her as a songwriter. Still do respect her as a songwriter and stuff like that, and have got to know her a little bit. There's a couple bands like Trans Jupiter. Like I think there's a lot of people doing their own thing, and just being the nature of me being a solo guy, I guess. Yeah. I don't always run in the same scenes as a lot of other people, just because you're kind of I don't say limited, but you know, to do a show with people in their, if they're having a rock show, you're kind of like, well, I've got an acoustic guitar and I don't know how I fit in, but you know, usually if people give me a shot, they kind of see that while I don't have the full components of my music there, it's kind of you know, it's kind of a common goal, I guess.
Sure.
You know, everybody, that live music.
Self-professed, bit of a mess. Then again, who's not? Love's an imbalance, weakness and talent, but it's all we've got. And I lose myself each time I find you, and I break. Towns built and me up. I think with my myself each time I find you, and I break. Towns you built in me up. Think with my heart, can't get you off of my mind. Why the hell would I? Why would I?
Have you always been a solo artist, or did you come up the way a lot of solo artists do, where you started in bands and then it just kind of made more sense for you to be performing on your own?
I haven't been in a band since high school.
Okay.
I mean, it was a pretty small thing. It's been so long ago that yeah, I guess the simplest answer is that I have always been solo and on my own. But for recording purposes and things like that, it just found it made it a little easier to, I don't want to say meet my goals, but I think just with recording and things like that, it was always easier to kind of do my own thing. But you know, as it sits right now, I think kind of got that itch to get together with some other players and see what happens. So.
And I guess it gives you the convenience too, if you're going to Winnipeg or playing in another city, you can just kind of grab a guitar and take off, right? Rather than having to coordinate with other band members and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a hobby, but it's a super passionate hobby. I spend a lot of time doing it. But I do have 3 kids at home, and the career also.
Sure, yeah.
With, so I always feel like, you know, that talk of being really passionate about it is that musicians really do have a lot of passion and a lot of vision for what they want, and I never want to get in the way of somebody else because of having prior commitments. So.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I've got 2 kids as well, and I completely understand. I mean, with the podcast, when we started doing this, I had 2 other guys I did the show with, and you know, various things have happened over the years. I'm still friends with them both, but it makes more sense for me to just do it on my own because my availability is so shitty, to be honest, like, you know, in terms of when I'm around outside of my own schedule. So I get that for sure. Now, you're obviously a singer-songwriter. Is there a genre you like to place on it? I know you mentioned indie kind of when we first started here, but like, do you consider yourself a folk singer, or do you think of yourself more of as like a, I don't know, indie songwriter or some other genre?
Yeah, you know, it's a good question. I mean, nobody wants to put themselves in a box, I guess. And
you have to now, though. It's 2019. Everyone wants to put everything in boxes.
It's true. I mean, yeah, I'm such a weird. I guess there's a lot of people like me out there that listen to such a variety of music. Like I range everything from like pop, like one of my covers that I do at my show is a Mandy Moore cover.
Okay.
And like I grew up listening to emo and pop punk and yeah, I don't know, but I really find my groove in songwriting with acts like Iron and Wine or City and Color.
Okay.
And that's just kind of where my music heads. So I guess you know, no matter how hard I try to, you know, get weird and get different, I always find I end up in the back in the same place.
Okay. So those 2 artists, I mean, are those kind of major influences for you? I mean, Iron and Wine, I definitely listen to Iron and Wine, and he definitely has kind of a sleepy vibe, which I think is often seen as folk, but then he can fully turn it up and go electric, like some of the later albums he did too, right? So
absolutely.
Is that sort of the same thing with you? Like, do you have the potential to take these songs that you're doing solo acoustically, and if you had the band that you wanted for those songs, you could ramp it up and go full electric?
Yeah, I think whenever I write a song, it always starts with the acoustic guitar, but then I always find that when I record them, the drums, the bass, the piano, the synth, strings, whatever, always seem to creep in there, and I just I never feel like a song is finished with just the acoustic guitar. So I guess it would only be natural to grab something else and put it in there. It always feels like it's incomplete to a degree. Sure.
And you mentioned a few minutes ago a cover song, and then I noticed you've been doing covers on social media, and you have it seems like you have a whole series of like 1 minute cover tunes. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess I think it was just kind of a fun way that I wanted to maybe bring people into my music a little bit. I think there's a lot of music out there. I mean, every day if you download new music or grab new music or try out a new band, there's so many out there, and it's really hard to figure out what you like. So I figured if I played songs that people knew that they'd heard before and heard my take on them, maybe they'd say, you know what, maybe it's worth giving his stuff a listen, because my videos on Instagram and stuff like that of my own stuff kind of, you know, 100 views here and there, but my covers grab like 500-600 for whatever reason. So I think it was just I'm in the middle of writing songs right now, so I'm just listening to a lot of different things, and every time I hear something that I'm kind of playing along with, I'm like, oh, let's throw a cover down here and see what happens.
Cool. When you're doing those covers, do you try to put your own spin on them, or do you try to play them as kind of accurately to the original as possible?
Usually my own spin, for sure. Yeah, I definitely want the song structure to hold up, but I don't think imitating people is my thing. I'm not the chameleon like that. I can't hammer it out verbatim. So I always try to do it my way, and hopefully that comes across as doing them justice and genuine and whatnot.
Okay.
Head east, head west. Just let your conscience rest. I don't like to stray too far from you. It's only what's broken. I picked a wonderful time to run. Guess I'd say you really owe some true. Can't run from your demons, but you can light a fire, and they're no match for you. I'd say you really owe some true. Can't run from your demons, but you can light a fire, and they're no match for time to run. Guess I'd say you really owe some true. Can't run from your demons, but you can light a fire, and they're no match for you. I picked a wonderful time to I'd say you really owe some true. Can't run from your demons, but you can light a fire, and they're no match for you.
What has your experience been playing in Winnipeg? I mean, I know I kind of seen here and there online. You've been doing quite a few shows, I guess, in the city. Have you had a good reception as kind of an outsider to the Winnipeg music scene?
the Winnipeg music scene is amazing. The people in it are so welcoming. That's the biggest thing for me. I think it's not a super easy scene to break into. I guess I think they're pretty loyal to each other, which is, I mean, I can't fault that at all. So I think you really just have to be patient. I'm trying to go to other people's shows and be supportive in a way that you kind of have to. You kind of have to be sociable and friendly to people before you can. It's almost like pushing a product on someone, right? So I mean, I often want things to happen organically. So I think I'm just kind of pushing things out there, hopefully gently, and also just trying to be a part of it as a listener, because there's so many good bands there. It's crazy.
Yeah, like, it's nuts. Yeah.
Every day, I swear, I find somebody new that I'm just enamored with. It's an amazing scene. And like I said, the reception, the people that I've met are what drives that.
Are you hoping to spend more time in the city as far as playing shows, or are you kind of? I mean, are there a lot of places for you to play out there? Maybe is a better question I should have asked earlier, talking about Carmen.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I struggle a bit to find where a solo acoustic act fits in a way that isn't forced, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I'll put myself out there and say, if you're looking for an opener, I think that's kind of a good place to start. But yeah, I mean, I would love to play more shows in Winnipeg and see what's out there. But when I put my EP out this winter, I was talking to the guy that mixed it, and he's like, "Are you doing a release party?" And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. Is it really something I want to do? And he said, just share it. And he was so right. All I want to do is share my music. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and it comes from a place of almost like therapy for me, just getting it out there and having people hear it. So the more people that hear it, the more places I can share it, the better.
Okay. Are there, again, having not been to Carmen except for going through it once, I think, what is the kind of surrounding area like as far as other communities that maybe have possibilities for shows? Are there, other towns nearby that you have been to or are planning to go to?
Yeah, Morden did a really cool, I've done 3 or 4 shows in Morden. I was lucky enough to do a show with a band called Hillsburn. Okay. They're from Nova Scotia. There was, Bull Rider did a show at the Suncatch in Morden. They did this Live at the Suncatch series where I think they had like Quentin Blair, Bull Rider, and every week they had a new act, and it was really cool to see them. They just didn't charge people for tickets. They just promoted music in this cool spot kind of behind the clock tower, and it was really cool. So I mean, I think you just have to kind of dig for it a bit and look for what's out there. I mean, there's so many little festivals in Manitoba.
Oh yeah.
I've applied for a couple this summer, and I think I've got a couple that I'll be going to. But I mean, even just to go again as a listener, there's the Prairie Wind, there's Hoop and Holler. There's lots of.
There's new ones every week, yeah.
Yeah, there's awesome stuff out there, and again, you just really, it's kind of like that notion. People are like, music isn't as good as it used to be, but I think you just have to look. I think there's so much good stuff out there, and you just have to kind of sit through it all.
Is there any potential for, you to take bands from Winnipeg and bring them to you? Like, have you thought about putting on a show in Carmen and getting Winnipeg acts to come out there and maybe bring, instead of you going to the city for a show, bring the city to you kind of thing? Are there venues out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I've reached out to a couple of musicians in Winnipeg. I'm kind of been talking to the Arts Council about that, but it's they plan being an arts council that's their hands are tied with funding and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I don't want to get in their way, and but I also always want to bring bands out here, and I suppose I'm a little hesitant. The promoter side of me doesn't exist.
Sure. So yeah.
I'm just a huge fan of a lot of these people, and the idea of having the opportunity to play with some of them is always very exciting for me. So yeah, that has definitely crossed my mind to bring a party out here for sure.
Well, what you just said about the promoter side of you not existing, how do you find just the whole process of getting your music out there now? Because it's kind of in today's music scene, really, you have to be it's hard to be just the creative person because there's so much social media stuff, there's so much self-promotion, and there's so much just extra roles that maybe musicians may not have had in past eras, right? Because you can do it all yourself and everyone's expected to. So have you had any difficulty sort of navigating that world, or you think you're doing a decent job at sort of getting your name known, really?
Yeah, it's the shameless self-promotion side is a little tough.
It's hard, yeah.
Even talking to you, I mean, we've just touched base a couple times to get the interview to happen, and I mean that's kind of tough. Like I don't naturally think that being like, hey, look at me, listen to me, that sort of thing is really all that easy for anybody. But
yeah.
I always try to at least convince myself that I'm coming from a genuine place of just wanting to share and make a connection with people, because, like I said, the connections that I've made in Winnipeg and just through music are pretty valuable to me.
Okay.
I can see the end. Means run the mend. Sunshine melts, winter out, cages in the cold. Reflections of the time. The seasons are window into the side of mine. Baby, you, the reason I got through is leave this all behind. Good things come to those who wait. All feels a little too late. Glaring sun shows the damage done. It's staying for the long run. Thaw me out. Thaw me out. Thaw me Learn how to feel again. Desperate for a win. Simple choice, sound of your voice. This is how I live when March refuses to give. Good things come to those who wait. All feels a little too late. Glaring sun shows the damage done. It's staying for the long run. Thaw me out. Thaw me out. Thaw me Good things come to those who wait. All feels a little too late. The glaring sun shows the damage done. Staying for the long run.
So maybe to kind of expand on that a bit, like, you know, I think is it almost like the imposter syndrome? Like you feel like you don't, you know, why would I want to be in an interview, or why would I want to be kind of on this thing? Because I think a lot of bands have that, where they kind of feel like, you know, they've made something that creatively that they're really proud of, but then when it comes to sort of, you don't want to announce to everyone, look at my great thing, right? Is that part of what it is, or like feeling like maybe who am I to tell people to listen to my stuff?
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing that I always come back to is anytime that you get a chance to work with someone that you respect what they do, whether they are like what you're doing. I love the podcast.
Thanks.
I love the guests that you have on there. Everything down to the people that helped me with my EP, the person that mixed it. I'm a huge fan of the things he's done. The guy that did the artwork, I've always wanted to have him do artwork for me.
Cool.
So it's always just that collaboration side. I think if you think of it not so much as pumping yourself up, so much as giving yourself an opportunity to work with people that you respect or that you admire their work, I think that's probably the driving force more so than like, you know, not doing it to be famous or renowned or anything like that. It's just kind of that connection. Back to the connection again.
So I guess what is kind of the goal of this project? Because like you said at the beginning, I mean, you have other responsibilities going on, and real life kind of getting in the way of having to being able to devote all your time to music. So where do you sort of see this project going in the future? Are you content at the level you're at, where you're, you know, playing shows locally or playing shows in Winnipeg and recording, or would you rather see this become more of a touring thing? Or is that even possible with your situation?
Well, you know, being a teacher, I do have summers, so I feel like this summer applying for a lot of the festivals was kind of the first step in saying, you know, like maybe the summertime could be the time for music full time.
Yeah.
With family, of course. But you know, to be honest, I have no idea what I want out of it. I think music is pretty much ingrained in my DNA. So
yeah.
I think I don't think I'll ever stop doing something along these lines, and I did a couple of years back. I had a pretty unfortunate back injury and had some surgeries and was off work and all bad things, and I was kind of bargaining with a higher power, saying, like, if I make it out of this okay, like if I get better, I'm gonna do everything a little bit better, right? Whether that's my job or my hobbies or being a dad or being a husband, you know, like I'm just going to do everything better. So I think I'm still in the process of seeing how far I can take this, because that was part of the bargaining process.
Cool.
So.
No, fair enough. So if people are hearing you for the first time on the show, and, you know, I think because you're not in Winnipeg and you're not kind of permanently part of the music scene, there probably are a lot of people hearing you on here who maybe, you know, are being introduced to your music through the podcast. So what's the best way for them to hear you? What's the best way for someone to find out where you're playing shows, check out some of your songs? Where would you suggest?
You know, the typical social media, Facebook, Instagram, I think is the best place to track down what's going on. My music is on all the digital platforms, and you know, I've always told people that I've talked to, if you ever want the music, the goal is to share it. So if you don't feel like paying for it, let me know and I'll email you a copy.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm pretty easy to find if you're looking for me. It's kind of out there everywhere.
Okay. And then you have is it just the one EP that you have out right now, or what do you have as far as recordings? Yeah,
the Reset EP that I put out in last December there was kind of the most polished version of what I've done. I mean, I never even called them EPs or anything like that, really. I just put out batches of songs where I'd go through a writing process, and then for 2 or 3 months I'd record things and then just kind of put them out as I finished them, sort of thing. So this EP was the first one that I really kind of went through a bit of a process on, and to be 100% honest, it was pretty satisfying to do it all at once, because I'm so impatient, and once I finish the song, I want to know what it sounds like, what people think of it.
So, do you have something planned for going forward? Like, are you working on the follow up, I guess, to that EP?
Yeah. The Golden Prairie Arts Council here in town funded EP to get mixed.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure if I want to do another DIY thing and get it mixed professionally, or if I want to, get into a studio or what. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just keep writing. I think I'm feeling particularly creative these days. I think it's probably because I'm really busy with everything else.
Sure, yeah.
When I feel the most motivated. So I'm just writing, and again, I'm pretty unsure of what I'm actually going to do or how it's going to come out in the wash. But I think for the most part, I do think the goal is always to improve. So
sure.
I think I've exceeded my ability to record and to that's probably the highest quality I can do on my own. So maybe I need to put it in someone else's hands. And again, it just becomes another opportunity to work with somebody else that that's a good person to collaborate with, sort of thing.
Totally, yeah, for sure. Okay, awesome. Do you have any shows coming up in the near future or relatively near future?
Let me see here. I'm trying to think. There's some festivals that I think I'm going to, but I don't know if they haven't announced the lineup yet. So I don't know
fair
if
enough.
I'm supposed to do anything there. I am playing Canada Day in Portage.
Okay.
I know that much. I think might be doing the Carmen Fair. But yeah, as far as upcoming shows, I don't think I have any in the next month or so.
Okay. And people should just check your social media if they want to find out. I mean, because someone might hear this, a year from now or something, right? So that's the
Sure. That's the place to go for
cool.
sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, if people want to hear more episodes of this show, you can go to witchpolice.com. All 370 whatever episodes are there for free download and streaming. You can also tune in on Sunday nights at midnight on UMFM, and those are older episodes that get kind of a boost a few months after they're recorded. So it'll come out in podcast form, and then later on in the year, if you happen to be listening to the radio at midnight on a Sunday, and I don't know why you wouldn't, you can tune in and it'll be right there. So yeah, thanks again for talking to me. I'm glad we could make this work because I know we'd been kind of communicating online for a while, and my schedule is difficult, so is yours, and this is a good way to make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, I so appreciate what you do. It is your podcast is awesome, and
thanks.
And knowing that you're a family man and all that, it's impressive what you're doing. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate you listening. I think one of the best things about doing the show is that I often hear from musicians that they listen to the podcast, and that's kind of I feel like it means I'm doing something right. I'd rather have a small audience of people who actually are interested in the music scene and are a part of the music scene listening to the show than a million listeners who maybe it's not what they're interested in. So I appreciate that. It's nice to hear for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, keep it up. I'll keep listening for sure.
Right on. Thanks a lot.
Setting sun, adding up the damage I've done. Praying for a distant rain to come and save my soul again. I don't know where I'm going or if I'm coming to start again. coming to terms. Start again. Start again. Start again. Start again. Hoping for just one more day as I will.